craft school. If you've been following along with my videos, you will know that I absolutely love crepe paper flowers and frosted paper flowers. But I would say that my second favorite would be paper plants. And out of all of those, it's the fern. So today I'm going to show you a couple different methods of how to make paper ferns, and then we're going to talk about how you can use these in your decorations and in your bouquets. So let's get started. I have two of our newest fern projects here in front of me, and this one is actually made from double-sided crepe paper that comes in the Leah Griffith pack, and we have two in the pack, and each of these rolls has two colors, one on each side. So you get a lot of variety by using this, and I think that this double-sided is thick enough and heavy enough that it holds the weight of this fern. Now when we assembled this, we actually have two pieces and then we glue the wire right in between, and that creates not only this beautiful shape, but you can move it around and you can, shape it and form it depending on what your arrangement looks like. And to create this look, all we did was we put a foam ball inside of our container. You can see here we've covered it with moss and then just placed the wires right into the foam ball. It's really easy to do, and this will last me for years. You can find all of the details, the pattern, and the steps of how to make this project on our site at leahgriffith.com. Now the next one is actually a frosted paper and a text weight paper, and this is also very, very simple. It's just cut on the cutting machine. It takes a little bit of time to cut it out, but once it's done, it's just a matter of assembling and putting them on to this wreath. So you can find all of the cut files, both the PDF and the SVG, on our site. There's a link below, and there'll also be a tutorial on how to make this exact wreath. Now we're gonna make a version of this right now. So I've picked out three different colors of paper, and these are all frosted papers. I'll have a link to the colors below. And then I've cut these out on the cutting machine, and you can see they're pretty detailed. This is a different pattern. This is actually the original fern pattern that I designed over 4 years ago. It's one of my favorites. It's very detailed, and I just cut these on the cutting machine. It goes very fast. If you want to cut them out by hand, go for it. It'll take you a little longer, but I think it's worth it. So three different colors, and there's two different shapes of leaves. And what I can do is two different things. I have this wire that's covered with paper, and it looks like twig, and you can actually form your own wreath shape if you want to do that. We use this method a lot, where you just unroll this, pick the size that you want, and then just wrap it around maybe 2 or 3 times as thick as you want. That is one version. Or another idea is I have this grapevine that I found. It was a long piece, and I just cut it down to create a wreath, and I just thought it was so light and airy, and it matched what was going on with the ferns, so I wanted to use this. So one of the things that I think is important when you're using frosted paper, especially when you're making things that are supposed to be alive, plants or flowers, is that you want to add some texture and curl into them. So I have my curling tool here, and just very, very gently, I'll run it down these little tiny leaves of this fern to add some shape, and sometimes I'll go the other direction. You can see how that's coming together already. To me, it starts to come to life when you do this. I'll go ahead and shape all of the ferns here on my plate. They do tangle a bit, so it might help to lay them out separately as you curl them. So I'm going one direction on one side, and then this piece I'll curl the other direction, and then the other side I'll have it go the other way. I think that looks very realistic. I'm curling these very gently as I move this curling tool down. If you don't have a curling tool, you can use the edge of your scissors, or if you have one of the scraper tools from Cricut, you can use that as well. And if you happen to rip one of these off, don't worry, just glue it back on. By the time that you have your wreath assembled, I don't think anyone will see it. Now here are our small ferns, and I'm not going to go in and curl every single one of those, so simply I'll run my curling tool down one direction, turn it over, and then just, I would say the top third, I'll go the other direction. When you pull these off of your mat, oftentimes they'll kind of curl by themselves. So if that's the case, I would say just add a little curl the other direction and you're good to go. All my pieces are curled, and I'm just going to use a hot glue gun. This is a high temperature hot glue gun. I'm finding that this actually works better with the frosted paper. It holds it a little bit better. So I'll start with one of the colors. I'm going to do one color at a time for the large ones, and put some glue right on the base of the spine, and then find a place on the twig that I'll securely place it, you know, right aligned with the twig so that it stays firm. And then I'll pick a spot towards the top and I'll put some glue on that and do the same thing. So it's really important that you have two different places on these large pieces that actually are adhered to the stick themselves. Now when I make this wreath, I'm going to make sure that all of my ferns go in one direction, so it's a rotation that looks, it has a bit more of an ease to the eye when it does that versus kind of willy-nilly all different directions. That's what I find anyway. Again, just add some glue to the base and then find a piece of twig to glue it onto. Now I'm not putting it quite directly across, maybe close. A little bit more glue and find a place. So when I'm gluing these on, I want to make sure and glue some towards the inside and some towards the outside. So my second one, what I think I will do is position it a bit more out here. And this is hot glue, so be careful. And then wrap it a bit inside. And then we'll do the same over here. And then there's a place you can see I have just enough room to place my last two ferns, at least the large ones, and then we'll add the small ones. As you can see, I'm overlapping the ferns a bit. I guess that will depend on how large your wreath form is. You can always go back and, you know, cut more and add more if you feel like it needs a bit of thickness. I wanted to do something that felt light and airy. So there's the 6 large ones in place. And to finish this, I'm going to add all of these little bits and pieces and fill up all the spaces. And here, out of 6 pieces of paper and 1 piece of grapevine, we have a gorgeous wreath, and you can use this to decorate all year round. So let's look at some other ideas of how to use these paper ferns in your decorating. This is the same pattern that I just used, but in this case, we made it into a plant, and we just did this by gluing wire onto the back of the fern and placing it into the foam. Another version of the wreath we just made, but this one we used the paper covered floral wire to create the form and then just glued it straight onto that. It's very simple. For this greenery bouquet, the detail and texture of the ferns makes it so pretty. So as you can see, you can add these into bouquets, whether they be just greenery or with flowers as well. I added these paper ferns in with my actual live arrangement on this tabletop, and it just adds a bit of pop of color and texture. For this Thanksgiving tablescape, we placed the ferns all over the table. You can tuck them into the napkins, you can place them in the glasses. It's just a really fun way to use the ferns. I love this idea of using ferns as a placemat as well. Another way I like to use ferns is simply tuck them inside of the ribbon right on top of a gift. It just adds that extra touch. You can see why ferns are one of my favorite things to use in paper, whether it be crepe paper or this text weight paper or even frosted paper. You can find all of these projects that I've shown you on our site at leahgriffith.com, where we'll have the patterns, the SVG cuts, and the tutorials on how to make them. Click the button below so that you can be notified when we post new videos, and don't forget that when you make your projects, #MadeWithLeah so that we can show them on our social channels as well.